The Tennessee Titans, some people, and we're going to give them the opportunity to explain why, have us with a very unfortunate record this year. We got our first returning guest. It's a big one. Got a lot to cover this week on the Sick Podcast Talking Titans. Sammy, why don't you start me up?
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to the Sick Podcast. Talking Titans.
Ladies and gentlemen, 94 yards. Touchdown, Titans. He is the baddest man in the NFL, and he just took her to the house.
The sickest Tennessee Titans podcast.
Sick!
It's gonna be sick.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another edition of the Sick Podcast Talking Titans. I'm joined, as always, by my two co-hosts, Jared and Vin. How are we doing tonight, fellas?
Can't complain. Always good. Always good.
Absolutely.
Jared's decked out in the sick gear, as always, as we all three of us are. We're going to waste no time tonight. We got some great stuff to get into. Our first return guest is with us, and we are so thankful and lucky to have him. If you're familiar with the Sick Podcast or NFL Network, you all know him, Mr. Adam Rank. Adam, how are you doing on this glorious Monday night?
You know what? I'm really good, and I'm glad that we're doing this because I want to take this podcast, and so every time a Tennessee Titans fan approaches me on Twitter, if I haven't by some miracle muted you already from 3 years ago, I will be like, this is where I come and explain myself. And we can sit here and we can have an open dialogue and we can have a conversation. And you might disagree with me, and that's fair. And I've been wrong before, as you guys all are all too well aware of. But I made the picks that I made, and I'm ready to talk about it.
All right, so we're going to get right into it. I would be remiss not to mention, as you've already alluded to already, that recently on national television, you spoke upon our beloved Tennessee Titans with some negative regards. Now, me personally, Adam, I'd happen to probably be the closest one to agreeing with you of the three of us, because I don't foresee us really making any noise in this conference. But nevertheless, you have us going 4-13 in this year's regular season, and the floor is yours, sir. Give us your best analysis as to how you came to that prediction.
Well, one of the things with a lot of these predictions, you could say it comes down to the quarterback. And I have a lot of questions about what's going to happen with the Tennessee Titans at the quarterback position moving forward. Now, Ryan Tannehill a couple of years ago caught lightning in a bottle, which, by the way, and I don't want to go back and defend my previous prediction. What was it, back in 2019, 2018, whatever it was. That season, when everybody was getting on my case, they started 2-4, and Marcus Mariota was not the guy. And you know, a lot of Titan fans were like, we're sorry, you were right, we apologize. And then they went on that run. They won 9 games, got all the way to the AFC Championship game, which might have actually been the worst thing for them, because then it gave them the sense of like, oh, we're good at quarterback. We're gonna run it back with this guy and Derrick Henry, which now you look at and you're like, maybe not the best idea. Maybe you should have kept AJ Brown. I don't know. But I looked at it coming into this season. Last year, you guys won 7 games. The worst pass defense in the NFL. And Sean, was it Murphy Bunting? I don't know. I don't know if he's Deion Sanders and is going to turn everything around. I know there was injuries and everything. But I think that there's some deficiencies in the secondary, which you were great against the run. There was nobody in the NFL better at stopping the run last season than the Tennessee Titans. Terrible against the pass. The offensive line has some issues, and of course, they've dealt with some injuries. You lost a couple of guys. You did draft a guard, Nate Skowronski, out of Northwestern, which should come in and immediately started guard and help you guys out. But I look at it right now, and obviously things are going to change during the regular season, and you know, injuries happen all around the league. But for me, I think that there's a lot of question marks with this Tennessee Titans team. And I think that Jacksonville at this point is a better team. And based on the quarterback, Trevor Lawrence to me is a significant advantage for what they're able to do. I don't think that the Titans are, and I like Vrabel and I like everything, but like having to put so much draft capital into Malik Malik Willis and Will Levis without the guarantee that either one of those guys are going to be a good NFL starting quarterback when you have other spots to fill is a huge issue for me. So I feel bad, and I hope I wish they kind of would have just hit the reset button and just been like, forget it. We're starting over. We're playing for Caleb Williams, and we're going to go at it that way. And by the way, if they went like the way that this could break out, I think best case scenario, I know that you want to win the division. I think the best thing that could happen for Tennessee would be what happened to Chicago last year. And let's say by some miracle, Will Levis is a great quarterback and you lose a lot of fun games and end up with the number 1 pick and are able to trade it away or do whatever and go about it that way. That is best case scenario for me. I think that's the best case scenario for the Colts. But I'm not very optimistic about the Titans, and I'm sorry if I have to be the one here who gives you a little bit of tough love.
Well, I wouldn't say it's a miracle for Will Levis to become a good quarterback, but I will understand why you have that that notion.
I mean, we also did have one of the most injured teams the last 2 years. So if you're going to go back on that, the secondary was a little banged up, but our defense held us in a lot of games last year. Our offense was the problem, and it stems down to our offensive coordinator that we finally got rid of after 2 years. We led the NFL in second half 3-and-outs last year at 48%. You know who led the league last year? The Atlanta Falcons, who was our offensive coordinator. So Arthur Smith was missed with Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill can do it. I'm the only one on this podcast that's a Ryan Tannehill fan, and I'm dying on the hill with it, okay? The only thing that I seen a lot of media guys in ESPN, NFL Network, and all over Twitter that says that the Titans lack so many holes on this team. To me, the only hole that I see is a need on this team is the wide receiver room. We addressed the offensive line. Peter Skoronczyk is going to be the left guard. Dillard is a viable left tackle in this league that needed a shot. And Brunskill came over from San Francisco, who can be a plug-and-play at right guard. He played 500 and something snaps with 0 sacks. I'm kind of hungry. I'm kind of hungry like you, Sal, at the end of the shows. But then you have a second-year right tackle in MPF. That's a decent line compared to Dennis Daly at left tackle last year, who had an historic bad offensive line. So if you're saying what a lot of these holes we have on this team, do you kind of agree that the only hole that we need to fill is the wide receiver room?
Absolutely.
Or you're saying we have more holes?
No. I think similar to what the Bears fans are doing, we are also very optimistic that the changes that we made are going to work out. Yeah. That our the guy Dixon, who came over from Tennessee, is going to do well. That Darnell Wright is going to be the guy. That Tevin Jenkins is going to be fine at left. Like, there's a lot of optimism that I would take with my own team that I might not take with other teams. But there's still a lot. I think, again, to me, it comes down to question marks. It is still fair to question whether this team as a unit is going to come together. And it's, I do the same thing. I get upset when people say the Bears haven't addressed their offensive line. Yeah. I'm with you. I understand where you're coming from. And so I do think that the wide receiver room is a huge issue. And I like Treylon Burks as a talent. I thought coming out of the draft, I'm like, that's a pretty good player. I still think it was a mistake to get rid of A.J. Brown. They did go out there and they did put a lot of resources into the defense. There's a reason why, but it didn't show itself last year. Again, great against the run. Against the passes, a little bit shaky. Those are the questions. But those are the questions that I have. Derrick Henry, the offense going through Derrick Henry, who I like. Again, can you rely on that as well? I just feel like the Tennessee Titans are kind of, they haven't like evolved. You know what I'm saying? Again, going back to reaching the AFC Championship game, that gave you a false sense of like, oh, this is the formula that works. I think the Chiefs have the formula that works. And what you need to have is an elite level quarterback, because when you have a good defense, you're walking a tightrope every season that you hope that everything has to go well. You can't have injuries on defense. You can't have anything go wrong. You can't have a fluke loss. I've lived it. I live it as a Chicago Bears fan. This was very much like, this was the problem with Mitch Trubisky in 2018, is that you go into next year like, oh, we're ready to go. Our defense is going to carry us. And we just hope that Mitch doesn't make mistakes. And then he does, and he sucks, and you got to get rid of him, and the defense falls apart. And then you're drafting Justin Fields and hoping it can work out that way. So I kind of see a lot of similarities to what the Titan fans are going through, and I understand why they're upset. but I'm just trying to, whether you believe it or not, I don't hate the Titan fans. I thought that we patched things up. I thought we were good now.
We good.
But I had to go out there and make some predictions. By the way, I think the Colts will be worse than you, if that helps you. And also, you know what, though? I gave a little bit more of the benefit of the doubt to the Houston Texans this year. And I could easily see that could flip-flop. I mean, like, okay, it could be Houston, it could be Tennessee. I think Houston's going to be a little bit better than people are thinking right now.
I'm full on board with them, man. They got a scary team.
Yeah, so it's a little bit different. And again, this is nothing against Vrabel. This is nothing against your fans. As a matter of fact, if things do go south, as I predicted, I hope that they hold on to Vrabel because, again, I really like him. I think he does a great job. I just don't think that the last couple of years, I don't think they've done a good enough job of giving him a team to work with. And again, going back to like Willis was a 3rd round pick. Levis is a second. That's a lot. That's a lot of draft picks on quarterbacks. Like you got to make sure that you're getting that correct as well. So that's my biggest issue.
Well, Adam, want to welcome you back on the show. I learned we're going to call you Adam. I'm ranking the Titans last in the NFL rank. I learned a few things this week. You clearly have a disdain for this franchise, and to be honest, it's kind of warranted because we haven't done much like your Bears the last 20 years to warrant any respect. I learned obviously too this week that NFL Network probably doesn't drug test because you were on something this week that I think it's, and you keep bringing up his name Vrabel. Well, that is my argument through and through that I think when you have a coach like him and you have stars on your team like Derrick Henry, like Jeffrey Simmons, like Kevin Byard, I think 4 wins is a slap in the face, especially in that division where you're going to play Houston twice. You're going to play, Indianapolis twice. And you figure even if you split there's 2 wins. And, I find it hard to believe that you can't find 3 more wins on that schedule with a coach like Mike Vrabel, who we've had people on here say before, he can coach a JV volleyball team to 5 wins in this league. He's that good of a coach. But, you feel the way you feel and you're entitled to that opinion, and we'll see how it holds out. And I don't want to sound too salty. I want to, lighten up the mood. So
that's fine. No. Listen, I'm just as pissed at people who disregard the Bears. Like I do the same thing as you. I will take on anybody because I see it in my mentions all the time. People like the Bears are going to win 4 games. And I'm like, yeah, right. And I go on and I have these same things and we go through the same exercises. I will say this. I had the Titans 3-3 in the division, splitting the division, getting an extra win against the Browns. I think it was. I will say Vrabel. Yeah, I could have given a little bit more deference and respect to Vrabel. If you want, I can pull up. So I'm looking at the schedule.
There we go.
So you do have
Sammy, throw it up there.
Can you throw up the schedule? I'll go through. I'll try to get mine up. Get yours up.
The Bucks. They're going to be the worst team in the league, Adam. We're not losing to the Bucks.
Home against the Panthers. Home against the Falcons. Wow.
Even
but you're on the road against Tampa. I had to give Tampa Bay and I'm like, where's Tampa Bay going to win? There's also what's Tampa Bay
Mayfield.
All right, there's one. Okay. What did I have Tampa Bay?
I think week 2, and I was the only one of the 3 of us. Week 2, I think we could beat the Chargers at home. They're flying to the East Coast for a 1:00 game, which is never easy. And I think we're going to give Herbert everything he can. I think we're going to put pressure on him. I think it's going to be a close game. It was last year, only played them in LA, so I don't see why it could be any different this year in Nashville. And that's also a game you could foresee the whole, betting world betting the Chargers. And usually when everyone goes one way, I go the other way. So I could see that as a win. But, home against Atlanta, home against Tampa, home against the Panthers,
yeah.
Go ahead.
Sammy, can you throw my predictions up there? Because I just want to make a point up. I have us going 10-7. You can call me crazy all you want. I was flirting with the 9-8 as well. But you got to think here. We're against Anthony Richardson twice. We're against
That's if he's the starter, because that's not set in stone yet.
He's going to be the starter.
Starting. Yeah,
he's starting. You're going against Anthony Richardson twice. You're going to get C.J. Strauss twice. That's 2 rookies. You have Kenny Pickett with the Steelers, and you have Desmond Ridder. Right there, you should have almost 6-7 wins.
Desmond, the Arthur Smith revenge game. I love the narratives.
He's coming back to Nashville.
I will tell you this. If I was, I won't concede on the Chargers. I know the Chargers have this kind of reputation, probably well-deserved, for not playing well on the East Coast, traveling. It's probably a 10 a.m. game here out in California, which, by the way, when you talk about drug testing, California cannabis is completely legal. So
I didn't say you were on cannabis, Adam. I don't know what I don't know.
They can't drug test me for that. It's legal. It's as legal as Miller Lite out here. So don't blame me for that. The Falcons, that's a 50-50. That's more than a 50-50 game. The Buccaneers, coming off a game when you have a Thursday. How are you guys? You have the Steel. Yeah. Okay. The Buccaneers. I might have made it. I could have made an error there.
Live TV. We'll give it to you.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? I probably made an error, and then I had to follow it through. Tampa Bay is going to be historic. How does Tampa? I was just looking. How do I have Tampa Bay getting 6 wins? That seems a little optimistic. I do think though that Carolina is better than a lot of people are giving them credit for, and I'm very worried about this because the Bears own their pick, and I'm like, this stupid team is going to go out there and win 9 games in that dumb division, and they're going to go out there. I think the Falcons are pretty fun. I think they're saucy. My friend Charles McDonald at Yahoo Sports referred to them as the NFL's version of an and one mixtape video. And I'm like, you know what? That is so true. And Desmond Ridder showed in that year at Cincinnati that when he's got enough good players around him, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, I think offensively they could be decent. And I think they could go out there and create a lot of problems for people. I will tell you, the one good thing I like about the Titans schedule is that you close 3 of your last 4 home games. 3 of your last 4 games are at home, I should say, all winnable because you got the Texans in both of those games. Seattle, who I don't think is going to be as good as they were last year, and then you got Jacksonville at home, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, I know the Colts and Jags always flip. The Colts always win in Jacksonville but lose at home. I don't know how you guys do at home. I can't remember. I had looked it up.
We're a funky team. We're actually sometimes the last few years seem like we play a little better on the road.
Road at Jacksonville, right? Like the South is weird. Yeah. Well, like teams play good in Jacksonville, but you don't play them as well at home, if I'm not mistaken. I know it's definitely true for the Colts.
The whole division has been so bad the last few years. You almost feel like there's no true home field advantage. Nashville is a tourist city. So until a couple years ago, it almost seemed like 50-60% of the opposing team's fans were there. You know, Jacksonville's been a joke forever, aside from last year and that one flash in the pan year. Houston's been a joke.
Wait, hold on. You cannot sit here and call. What? They went to the AFC Championship.
I know.
I
said the flash
like you.
Year. I said
you guys did the same, but you guys did the same.
We've been solid for 5 or 6 years now. The last 20 years, they went to the AFC title game and blew it against New England. And then last year, they went to the playoffs. Other than that, where they been? Where have
you been? You went to the AFC Championship game and blew it.
We had a winning season the last 5 years. Went to the title game, went to the divisional round, first round bye.
So let me round this out because I think I can believe it or not, me of all people,
mediator.
What's going on, a mediator. Yeah. Where I think Adams
getting a wedding crasher here. Can I get some miles? Can you get some miles?
I think Adams' uncertainty with our team, and it's obviously understandable, is that there's been no consistency as far as just any regular season play. I mean, you look at it. The year we went to the AFC Championship game, we were essentially doomed. Ryan Tannehill brought this team back into the mix, and we made our run. Then the following year, we had a very good year, got bounced in the first round. The next year, AFC's #1 team, bounced in the first round. Then we went in a full-fledged tilt, mostly with Ryan Tannehill, and lost 7 in a row. So, you look at the big dogs. You look at the Cincinnati's, the Kansas Cities, and the Chargers. Well, now the Chargers probably, but all these teams that have elite quarterbacks and can manage injuries because they have that superstar under center. It's hard to have much faith with Ryan Tannehill because although we've seen him have a lot of success, you can make a very big statement that when the lights are the brightest, he doesn't really show up. And now, even more so than ever, he's going to have to be the guy because he's going to have to win some games by himself because you can't depend on Derrick Henry winning every single game. You got Treylon Burks, and that's about it at wide receiver. So Ryan Tannehill's going to have to bring the best out of the players around him. And I've said since the last couple of years now, I have not seen him do that. So I can understand now. I don't know about 4 wins because if you do remember, this team does have a top 10 defense that's getting guys to the likes of Harold Landry back. You do have some concerns in the secondary, but realistically speaking, this pass rush is still out of this world with Autry, Simmons, and company.
Arden Key.
Yeah, I wouldn't say concerns. Yeah, I wouldn't say concerns in the secondary. I know Adam brought it up in the beginning of the year. We had injuries, man. Last year, we had Trey Ivory, a 7th round, I think, or an undrafted free agent at Rutgers, starting for us and getting
shout out Rutgers.
Yeah, but Nolan had a tough year. McCreary had a Farley tough year. None of those guys really wowed you.
Elijah Molden out all year.
Byard lost a step. I don't think
Caleb Farley is not
anymore. I'm sorry.
Stop. We got to do better against Adam here. Don't be disrespecting Byard and get me worked up. Come on.
Sorry, just got a realist.
No, but Adam, I did want to ask you though. I enjoy the banter. Don't get me wrong. By the way, I did love that suit with the purple with the black shirt.
Wait, hold on. Do people really like it?
You could rock it.
Let me tell you something because the NFL they fired our hair, makeup, and wardrobe department. Just one day came in, axed everybody. I had to put that together by myself.
That's pretty solid.
I didn't know you needed anyone in the hair department, so I didn't think that'd be a big deal.
I have a beard still.
No, that's suit.
Shout out Manscaped.
That's a suit I could definitely see Silvio Dante wearing when he.
That was a classy suit. I like that, but
you got to pick something classy because it's going to get memed. And like one of them's going to be wrong. And then they never show the one that'll be correct. Like if the Falcons ended up winning the division, nobody ever pulls that one out. You know what I'm saying? Like nobody's like, hey, he picked the Falcons. And no, they'll just forget it. And this is the problem too, is and this is what happened with the Commanders last year, is I'm like, your team's not good. And then I got to go on their podcast and their whatever. And then they start 1-5 or 1-4. And then never hear from them again. They all disappeared into the wind. Then they get a miracle win over the Bears that turns into a couple other miracle wins. And then once they get to be level, they were like 6, whatever they were, like 7 and whatever. Then they were coming out full chested. Oh, this guy, so wrong. And then they lose 3 out of their last 4. I never hear from them again.
Back under that rock for 40 years.
But what is that? So if you guys are like, this is the thing that I have to ask. Is it, if I would have picked you for 7 wins, would you have been like, it's fair. Okay.
We're good. That's fair. I could see us being a team that, loses close games because I feel like we're going to be in a lot of them. That's another reason why I thought 4 wins was a little disrespectful because of our defense, because of Henry, because of Vrabel. We'll be in a lot of games, and only a few of those games have to go our way for us to pull out 7 wins. Obviously, we lack a little talent on the offensive side of the ball outside of Henry. A lot of question marks with Treylon Burks' health. Chig, will he take the next step? So a lot of question marks, but yeah, I just thought 4 wins was just like, your Bears had 4 wins.
3 wins. So, I lived it as a fan watching a team who I'm like, we're not this bad. How is it continually going against us? And then to the point, like at the end of the season, you're like, F it, just lose them all. Like, fine, like just lose them. And then it almost didn't work out for us had it not been for Lovie Smith, pulling out the miracle. One last victory for the Bears, and it obviously worked in our favor. So it's not always the worst thing, but that's just the way the NFL goes. Like, just the things that the inexplicable things, and as well as it's worked out for you in the past, and you can go back to that 9-7 team that goes to the AFC Championship game. Sometimes these teams get on a roll, and we're not like, you can't lose. Like, look at Minnesota last year. That's not a good football team. But don't tell the Skull Country people. Oh, they're so good. You won 11 one-score games. And so maybe I should have taken a moment. Again, looking back, I don't know why I gave the deference and respect to the Buccaneers. I don't know why I have the Buccaneers winning 6 games.
Here's one thing. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. So I'm glad Vinny talked about the offense with the lack of playmakers on this team. There's a coveted free agent out there right now, and DeAndre Hopkins. We have next to nothing to limited cap space. Okay. We have no playmakers on this team. How do you see this? I don't see, and neither of these guys see us going into the season with the wide receiver room the way it is right now. So do you think the Titans actually pull a trigger to go get a DeAndre Hopkins? Or I made a short this week of us trying to go get Terrence Marshall out of the Carolina Panthers because they have a pretty crowded wide receiver room with Thielen and Shark and Mingo now. And then you got the Denver Broncos, who are absolutely loaded at wide receiver. They have the most expensive wide receiver room in all of football, I think. I said maybe go after Judy, sign him long-term, possibly trade for Cortland Sutton, maybe a 4th and a 7th, or even Tim Patrick, who had a great year 2 years ago, and he was coming off an ACL injury this year. How do you see us try to improve this wide receiver room?
I like Tim Patrick. I think he might be their best receiver. And had he not gone down with the ACL injury, I think that would have proven over the course of time. The problem is with a player like, we'll start off with DeAndre Hopkins. He's going to look at my prediction and be like, I'm not joining a 4-win team. No, but for real, like DeAndre Hopkins is going to sign with Buffalo or Kansas City or the Cowboys or somebody that you feel is closer to the Super Bowl right now, no matter what the Tennessee Titans could offer them. I think that Carolina still looks at Terrace Marshall as a long-term fit for them. I think that they just brought in Adam Thielen as a goal line guy who'll be kind of a stopgap as these guys develop, as Mingo starts to develop and things of that nature. Denver probably fancies themselves as a contender at this point as well. Probably going to keep, they do. Sean Payton's there. You don't make that move unless you think you can win games. So I don't know that they're going to be in a position to start dumping some of their wide receivers.
How many you got? You got KJ Hamler. You got Marquise Callaway too over there.
They drafted someone,
and they got Marvin Mims too.
Yeah, they got Mims.
That's 6 guys right there. You can't start all of them.
Yeah, that could be something that they go into the summer with, and at some point as training camp evolves, maybe there's somebody who ends up on the outside who could get moved. But looking at the depth chart here for the Tennessee Titans, and I will I'll pull it up.
Go right ahead, sir.
Oh, I love it because it's like looking at the Bears receiver room last season, where you got Treylon Burks.
It's not even that bad.
He's good. I don't think that's a bad player.
He's healthy.
Akine Westbrook is always one of those guys that we talk about that will have a flash game here or there. I think he's actually a pretty good player as well. Kyle Phillips, maybe not, but there needs to be some work.
There needs to be a move.
Yeah, it definitely does. I'll say this one last thing about the whole situation as far as the record prediction. Assuming this offensive line isn't NFL historically bad like it was last year, I can't foresee Derrick Henry, who seems to still be, as many like to say, allowing this team to only win 4 games. That guy personifies what an X factor is on an NFL team, and he can still hit some home runs. And like I said, even if the offensive line is bad instead of historically bad, I think he can equate to at least 5 wins alone by himself. So before we get into our next segment, I do want to say one thing about your Bears, because I was astounded by it as I saw some film today as I was killing some time. I'm going to go on the record here and say Justin Fields is the best running quarterback in the NFL. I would honestly take him over Lamar Jackson with the ball in his hand, past the line of scrimmage. I didn't realize how many spectacular runs he had last year, and just the absolute elusiveness along with the strength. It was really surprising, and I can understand why Bears fans have a lot of allegiance to him, even with the struggles they've had over the past few years, because determination in that guy is absolutely off the charts. So I will give them that credit for certainty.
Thank you. And you know, we're all hoping that DJ Moore is going to come in and make an impact when you have an ex receiver that you can rely on. And I look at some of the plays last year. You know, people talk about Justin not making the plays when they needed to make them. You look at the game against Minnesota. There was I can't even think of this. It wasn't even one of our regular receivers. It was some guy we signed off a practice squad who fumbled in the fourth quarter. We had Equanimous St. Brown drop a wide open pass on fourth down that would have extended a drive that could have allowed them to win a game. Darnell Mooney dropped a pass on the goal line on Thursday Night Football against the Washington Commanders.
I needed that for a fantasy win, so I remember that one.
Right? Like, that's where you hope that DJ Moore is going to come in and correct those kind of things. And perhaps Justin doesn't have to make as many long runs as he did last year, because a lot of those were not designed. A lot of those were play breaks down, nobody's open, go make something happen. He'll still have the ability to do that, but now you hope that he can get rid of the ball a little bit more. And it also bumps everybody down a spot. Like if Treylon Burks was there playing opposite of AJ Brown, how much better he would be to not be the guy who's drawing the number one cornerback or drawing coverage or the safeties dropping down on him. Like, he would be a much more productive player. And so the hope is that DJ Moore does that for the Chicago Bears and everybody down the line, including Darnell Mooney, Chase Claypool, Bayless, my guys, Bayless and Tyler Scott, I should say.
Do you worry at all about his style, Justin Fields, and you know how it didn't seem to hold up late in the year? And I think it was the game against Philly where he met a linebacker straight on, and with I'm not sure how many games he missed, but as a Bears fan, does that tend to worry you a little bit after seeing players like Lamar Jackson who have a similar style struggle to stay on the field the last few years?
Yeah, that is something that you ultimately hope they don't have to run as much as they do. You want them to still be able to use it as a weapon. Guys like Aaron Rodgers was actually very elusive, was a much better runner than a lot of people gave him credit for. We've seen Josh Allen over the last couple of years kind of rein it in a little bit. Even Patrick Mahomes can get out of the pocket, can run, can make plays with his feet. You want him to still have that ability. You just don't want him to have to use it as much. It's like your chipping ability. You want to be a good chipper, but you'd rather land on the green. So I think that's the hope with the Chicago Bears, is that we're landing on the green a little bit more and don't have to rely on our short game in that respect.
Yeah, I hope that does that for my golf game as well. We talked about the AFC South. I want to just pick your brain just a little bit with the NFC North. I don't see the Packers now that Aaron Rodgers is gone. I think they're going to be at the bottom of the division. Same with Minnesota. I think it's going to be between you and Detroit. Yeah. Now, for me, as an outsider looking at your division, I love the Detroit Lions and what they're doing right now. I might even bet them to win the NFC as a futures pick. Do you worry about the Lions, and how does that division going to play out for you guys?
Great culture established by Dan Campbell. I like a lot of the pieces. Obviously, David Montgomery was the former Chicago Bear. We still love him. I still love him. Amon-Ra St. Brown, one of the most overlooked wide receivers in the game, is excellent. Jamison Williams will return from a suspension. He'll be fine.
No.
They got Hawkinson. Wait, they got Hawkins? Yeah. Wait.
Yeah.
No, they
traded him.
They traded Minnesota. Yeah.
They traded him, but they got somebody now in there. Forgive me. I haven't quite.
They got another good running back, really good running back in the draft.
You know what?
Gibbs.
I hated the Jamar Gibbs pick
I loved it.
the night of, but as you start to look at it, they got rid of DeAndre Swift. You're like, okay, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, if he's a good player, if he ends up being an exceptional player, you're not going to care that you drafted him 12th. Like, it just won't matter. Like, we just have a good player, and I think it'll work out for them. The thing is,
very surprised they didn't stay put at 6, not to cut you off and take Jalen Carter. I thought that defensive line with Hutchinson and throwing Carter on there, especially when they had so much trouble stopping people last year, he just, to me, was the obvious pick. But good for you, they didn't take him, I guess.
Well, the thing of it is, and this is what we kept saying on our podcast in the weeks leading up to the draft, is that there was 2 teams who were very needy for a defensive lineman. with coaches that could handle a player like Jalen Carter with the outside distractions, Pete Carroll and Dan Campbell. If there were two organizations, both of which had extra picks, those were gift picks from the Rams and the Broncos that you could go out there and use on a Jalen Carter to bring into your team. And the Seahawks had gone out and gotten Bobby Wagner to kind of run their locker room. So if those two teams were going to pass on Jalen Carter, I'm like, well, then I don't want the Bears to take him. Like, if they don't want him, like, why do I want him? It's like when one of your friends is like, you should go out with this girl. I'm like, why aren't you going out with her? Like, well, no, then like, if she was that great, you would be going out with her. So don't give me that. Don't sell me that bill of goods. So if those two teams passed on him, and Dan Campbell gave a very profound answer. Somebody asked him about Jalen Carter leading up to the draft. It was at one of the owners' meetings, and Dan Campbell was talking about like, hey, you know what? We're not so much worried about the off the field stuff, but why are some of the things that we're seeing on film, why are they there? Those are our questions. And he was going through it. And I'm like, well, then either he's going to take Jalen Carter and they feel comfortable with it, or he's found out a problem with him and you want nothing to do with him. Now, hopefully, actually not hopefully, Philadelphia is willing to take that risk. They're coming off a Super Bowl appearance. Do you go do it? I think probably for the Lions and the Bears, their Super Bowl window is not really opened yet. So perhaps it's better off, like, let's just build our team. Let's take some more sure things. I think Jahmyr Gibbs is, Darnell Wright, all these guys. I feel like the picks that were made were sound. So I felt very good about it. The reason, though, when I look at the Lions is why I'm not overly concerned is that Jared Goff is still their quarterback. And as great as he was last year, it's still Jared Goff. And I'm not concerned. And I think that last year was kind of one of those things, like, he played exceptionally well. Can he do it again? I don't think so. I just don't. I could be proven wrong, but I don't think that Jared Goff is that quarterback. And I think that's going to ultimately be their downfall. And so, and if you look at the two teams right now, the Lions are obviously further ahead. They won 9 games last year. They eliminated the Green Bay Packers. Outside of the Kansas City Chiefs, nobody had a better ending of their season than the Detroit Lions. Like, everybody loved you. You're on Hard Knocks. You beat the Packers. You sent Aaron Rodgers to New York. Great. That's a movie. That's a movie. We'll sign up James Vanderbeek to play Jared Goff. Everything's fine. Although James Vanderbeek looks like he's 90 now. Good Lord. But in any event, with the Lions being ahead, I feel better about the Bears situation because I think our quarterback's better. So I'm comfortable where we're at. We'll see. Are we going to be better than the Lions this year? I predicted that. But at the same time, I'm an optimistic Bears fan. But I feel very good about where the Bears are right now.
All right, Adam, we appreciate you for coming on the show. Love you having you on the show. You're a returning guest. But we didn't get to do our new segment with you the first time you had on the show. So we have a new segment called Think Fast. We're going to put you in the hot seat. So, Sam, you start us up.
Think Fast.
We're going to start you off very light. What is your favorite beer?
Steinlager.
Okay, that's a new one. Never heard of that. Is that a California style? What's going on?
Isn't it? It's a New Zealand beer, I think.
Okay, all right.
Sounds like it's about 9%.
Yeah. Favorite sports event you've ever attended?
2002 World Series Game 6. Scott Spezio's 3-run home run started a 5-1 rally that ended with Troy Glass's 2-run double in the 8th inning to give the Angels the eventual lead and the win.
That is a throwback. Was that when he had the red beard too?
Or yeah, Spezio had the little the flavor saver was
the flavor saver. Red. Yeah, yep. Favorite coworker at NFL Network?
Kimmy Checks.
Okay, and use one word to describe Anello, our producer.
Wonderful.
Okay, and we need this year's sleeper and league winner in fantasy football.
Oh my God. I'm going to say that Antonio Gibson could end up being a very good option for you. A lot of people are sleeping on him a little bit. His ADP seems to be pretty low. The one thing that I really love about him is that Eric Bieniemy is going to be designing this offense. Last year, we saw what he was able to do with guys like Jerick McKinnon and Isaiah Pacheco. And I think that if they take advantage of Antonio Gibson's pass catching ability, he could be a guy who ends up being a league winner for you.
League winner, Antonio Gibson.
Oh, you heard it here first, guys. Well, Adam, we thank you very, very much.
By the way, the Steinlager thing's an absolute joke. I was just teasing. It's so funny. I couldn't think of a beer, and I don't know why Steinlager. I don't think I've ever ordered one in my life.
What are you going to crack after the show?
You know what? The problem I was hung up with is that we do a lot of our shows from Rip Beer Company in Southern California. It's a small local brewery. We have a beer called the Fantastical Commish. The skateboard back there is with the Fantastical Commish. It's a beer that I helped design, and it's available every football season in Huntington Beach, California at Rip Beer Company. So usually but now I've come to a certain age where I can't drink those heavy IPAs anymore. There's a thing called Dank Coast. It's a hoppy lager, and it's fantastic. But Southern California, it's random beers. And I've been drinking hard kombucha because, again, weed is legal out here. And you drink a hard kombucha and life feels pretty good. Although I will tell you this, if I'm looking for a domestic lager, if a place is selling Miller High Life in bottles, that is usually what I will be drinking.
One of my favorite football season beers, Miller High Life. I love it during football season.
It's $10 a 12-pack at Rite Aid. It was unbelievable.
Can't beat it. Not a big wine guy down there in California. You got to be some good wine out there.
You would think it would be something that I should be able to take advantage of, but I've tried before to get into wine. I drink so much coffee. I'm like, I can't do this to my teeth. I gotta give it a little bit of a break. So
a little bit of break.
Fair enough.
Just a little.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Coffee's a very addictive drug in these parts. So, listen, Adam, we thank you so much for being our first return guest of our show. And I'm going to say this. I'd like you to make a pledge now that when the Titans win their 5th game of the year this season, you're going to be back on the show to discuss how things have went. And we hope that it's a lot earlier on than you might predict.
Here
But
I am, week 6. Okay. Mistakes were made.
I don't think you're gonna have to deal with that. Trust me.
All right, but obviously, happy to be back on. You guys have been killing it. A great show that you guys do. I've been able to follow along. It helps me. Obviously, it didn't help me with my prediction. Maybe that's what it was. Is I didn't want to seem too biased towards you guys.
We love it. We love it.
They would see through it, like the way that Kelly McGillis was with Maverick. I didn't want everybody to see through me. But in any event, thanks so much for having me on, and I will be back again. And when I'm wrong, I will be here to give my mea culpa, and I look forward to doing that.
Absolutely. And listen, I think if I remember correctly, in 2020, you had us going like 4-12 or something. We wound up winning 11 games that year. So maybe history will repeat itself.
Yes, we hope so.
We won't hold it against you if you are wrong. But thanks so much for joining us, Adam. We hope to see you soon, and enjoy the rest of your night.
Thank you, gentlemen. We'll see you later.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Adam Rank with the Sick Podcast. He does his Bears show as well as all the stuff he does on NFL Network. We thank him greatly for joining us tonight and talking about basically his Titans Armageddon, which it would be if we did win 4 games. And I would not want to see what this fan base would be like across the board on all social media platforms if team win 4 games. But even the pessimistic Jack not going to curse on this show. Even the pessimistic jerk that I am doesn't have us winning only 4 games. I mean, I think that's a little.
You got the taser tonight.
Yeah.
Kind of like when they put Goodfellas on AMC and they got to bleep it out.
Yeah, or really any mafia movie that you got to watch with commercials. It's like torturous. You know.
Yeah, I was watching Casino this week, and I think on I don't know VH1 or something, and it was tough. It was tough.
It's really tough. But as always, we really thank Adam for coming on. He's definitely one of our more well-known guests, and we're really thankful that he's part of the same unit that we're part of, and we hope to grow with him along the way. So,
absolutely.
So before we roll out tonight, we're going to bring up a special sponsor of ours. And if you've been following the show, what's that?
Again, they're back.
again, and we're very thankful for that.
Absolutely.
A lot of Titans fans must like Manscaped because our code must have been getting used up.
And we're very thankful to them. So let's get into it. Support for the Sick Podcast Talking Titans is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Manscaped's Performance Package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Join over 7 million worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer for you. 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code SICKTITANS. That is SICKTITANS at manscaped.com. If my math is correct, that's about 14 million balls. And let me tell you something, there's always room for another 2.
Absolutely. The Performance Package 4.0 has arrived, and guys, it's here to stay. We got your Brajol clipper for your Brajol. You can use it on the meatballs as well. We got the Weed Whacker you can use for those pesky nose hairs, those pesky ear hairs. But most importantly, we want to take care of that Brajol, that undergarment, those meatballs. We got a ceramic blade to help reduce cutting. We got the 4K LED light. You could use this in the dark. You could use it anywhere. You could see every nook and cranny that you probably don't want to see. You could see it with the Lawnmower 4.0. It also is waterproof as well. You can use it in the shower. You don't have to worry about, looking like Marv from Home Alone 2 when he gets electrocuted. And then we have, crop preserver for your undergarment. We have a toner. We just got everything. So do yourself a favor and go to manscaped.com and use our code SICKTITANS, like Sal said, SICKTITANS for 20% off and free shipping.
Yes, Manscaped even threw in a free gift in the Performance Package 4.0, and it's the Manscaped Boxers and Shed Travel Bag. Bring your comfort and boxers to another level. It's time to take care of yourself at manscaped.com. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code SICKTITANS. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code SICKTITANS at manscaped.com. Again, final time, guys. That's 20% off free shipping worldwide at manscaped.com with the code SICKTITANS. Unlock your confidence and always use the right tools to get the job done with Manscaped.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you, I had the underwear on the other day, and it was a joyous experience. I'll tell you.
Yes, it is.
I'm not even trying to sell at this point. That is phenomenal underwear. And I need some help down there, and it really made it look great. So
I was wearing them on my way down the shore from Memorial Day weekend. I had my windows down, and the breeze was just flowing through them. It was the greatest thing. I mean, I thought I was wearing nothing, honestly. So, make sure you check out Manscaped. Use our code and help us grow with them as well as here. Like I say always each week, make sure you like, subscribe, follow, all that good stuff. Share the show with all your Titan fan friends. As Adam was so nicely able to recognize, we are growing fast, and we are very happy to do that. And we need all the help we can get from everyone to continue to grow and provide the best content we can for all of you. So make sure you help us out, and we'll help you out. So as always, guys, I hope everyone has a great night, great week. And as always, tighten up. Sammy?
Pop-Tarts back.
Pop-Tarts back. Get ready. Sammy, send me out.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast Talking Titans on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts.